Hot Mama's Cool Planet brings you two bold, lifelong friends, Myrrh in bustling London town and Mishi in sunny California, with a bicontinental podcast on sustainable living, self care, and the gloriously messy middle of life, sometimes with a little ranting along the way. And so, our topic today is whether the sun is good or bad for your skin and how to protect yourself when you think it might be good to do so. Or do you have a better title for that, Myrrh?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just thinking like the benefits and risks of sun exposure, and then with a big deep side foray into sunscreen, which is going to be one of the main points.
Okay. So, but before we get into that, we will talk about our small pleasures. So, would you like to go ahead and go first, Myrrh, with your small
Sure.
pleasure this week?
Yeah, I had a small pleasure this week when I had to pick up my daughter, Godzilla, at school. And you know how, like, great it is to have your parent with you when you're 13 years old in front of, like, all of your friends and peers, right? So
That's funny because in a minute I will get to my small pleasure, which is related to that.
okay, awesome. So share pleasure. Anyway, so Godzilla was like, act like you don't know me, stay 10 feet away, that kind
Right.
of thing,
Right.
as you'd expect. And I was trying to be respectful of that. And
Yes.
anywho, some of her classmates, like, two of them said that they liked my hair, and then one of them came up to me and said that my hair was tea, and I needed to have that translated for me. So Godzilla explained to me that having my hair tea means that it's good enough to drink. It's like tea.
Wow. That is a high compliment, and I love tea, so I'm going to start using that. Is that like a British kid slang or everywhere? And I just haven't heard it yet.
I don't know, because of course I've heard of spilling the tea. I mean, I think we've all known that one for a while now, but this was the first I heard of my hair being tea. So I don't know if it's a British thing or just a kid thing, but I say go and use it.
Okay.
Okay, what was your teenage-related little pleasure this week?
Similarly, just this year, Manga Monsters started sixth grade, and he was like, "Mom, don't take me to the sixth grade field trip. I'm going to go there, walk there a few blocks by myself. I don't want to go there with my parent." Anyway, so he went there for a whole week, had a great time, went on a bunch of hikes, even in the winter time, and, was very independent, but also missed us. And then we were going to a intro night for one of the junior highs that he might go to. And he was sitting next to me, and he was like leaning his head on my shoulder, and like at certain points when they were talking, and I was like, oh, he still like cuddles with me even though he's 11 years old. And so it was just this really nice little pleasure of like my cuddly 11-year-old tween son still cuddling with me despite wanting to appear like he has no parent sometimes. So
I remember being that age, and that's so nice that you notice those cuddly moments. Every time Godzilla like sits on my lap, I think this might be the last time she's ever going to sit on my lap. That kind of thing. But yeah, got to get our cuddles while we can.
yes. Well, hopefully we can still maintain that, good rapport as they get older. But yes, I don't know how many more cuddles are down the road for the next phase. At least in public.
Definitely.
So, so tell us what you found out, because I've always, it's not something that was really on the forefront of my mind, but I never really know, should I wear sunscreen or should I, and it's winter, it would be nice to get a little just sun and that would feel good, and what should I do? So.
Yeah, so I think for you, living in California, there's a simple answer, and that is that you should probably wear sunscreen every day. For me, living in
Hmm.
London, it's a little bit more complicated because half the year there's not enough sunlight. And so actually I want to back up a little bit and talk about sun exposure. And I want to say that we all have heard a lot about skin cancer and the need for sunscreen and the need to protect our skin, but maybe we've heard less about the importance of the healthiness of sun exposure. You know, the sun is out there, and we've been sun worshippers as a species for a long, long time, and not for no reason. There's a lot of important value we get from the sun aside from it warming us up and like helping our food to grow and things like that. But obviously it's how we make vitamin D, which is necessary, and it's important for our to set our circadian rhythm, so letting us know when to wake up and when to fall asleep, and having us just all be on more or less the same schedule so we can deal with each other as a society. And it's supposed to help with mood and with immunity, and there's a lot of good important things about the sun. And in fact, living here in a northern place, we don't get enough sun during the winter, and so a lot of people have seasonal affective disorder, or SAD.
Mm-hmm.
And so I myself got a SAD lamp, which is basically a little lamp that just emits so much light, like way more than your average lamp. And it's supposed to replace that sunlight in your eyes so that your eyes perceive that there's sunlight, and it's supposed to help you set the circadian rhythm during the winter months. So every morning, I sit at my desk and I turn on the SAD lamp. You're supposed to do it for at least for 15 minutes. And it helps your body know it's time to wake up. It's time for a new fresh day. So that's supposed to help with depression, which is really prevalent. I also have to take vitamin D supplements for half the year because there's just simply not enough sunlight. So a place more like California where you live, you will have more sunlight throughout the year, because just the way the planet is shaped, you're tilted closer straight on to the sun, and for me it's coming in more at a slanty angle, right? But what you can do if you're ever not sure on any one specific day is you can go into your weather app, whatever weather app you use on whatever phone you have. You can see right now it is cold and raining here in London. But if you scroll down, whatever weather app you have, it's going to show you the UV index. Can you see that?
Is it, where's, oh yeah, okay.
For me,
It says low.
yeah, it's 0 for me. And that's because it's gray and drizzling out. And so anything below 3, you really don't need to worry about sunscreen. So for me, half the year, it's below 3. It's 0,
Okay.
1, or 2, right?
Uh-huh.
But for you, I suspect if you look at your weather app, it's going to be 3 or higher most days. So
We had like 3 weeks of continuous fog right around the winter solstice, so that was really depressing. And
exactly.
I
And
feel
so,
for you when it gets like that.
yeah, imagine that lasting for 6 months essentially. I mean, it's a bummer, and the acronym SAD is really apt, so that's a good one. But for somebody like you, where okay, maybe you'll have these 3 weeks of fog, it's still you should just be in the habit of every day wearing sunscreen to protect your skin. The thing is, it's not only sunscreen, of course. There's other ways to protect your skin. You should wear long sleeves, and you should wear hats, and you should wear sunglasses, and all of these things. Stay in the shade in the midday sun, things like that.
I tend to prefer to wear hats because my skin is sensitive to a lot of creams and breaks out easily. So
I am so glad you brought that up. Okay, so here we are. We've established that some sun exposure is good and necessary, and we are humans. We absolutely can't live without it. There are some influencers out there, especially like the bro influencers, who are going around saying like more sun exposure, and like they want to expose like their testicles to the sun. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? One of these, I have to, so, like, okay, by these, like, bro wellness influencers. The big ones are, like, Huberman and Peter Attia. Now, Peter Attia, you might recognize his name because he was recently in the Epstein files.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, it's these bro type of influencers and their acolytes who are pushing way too much sun, and they're like, not only is sun exposure good for you, which agreement, but like anything to prevent the sun exposure is bad for you. So sunscreen is bad for you, and like that is false. The thing is sunscreen, like you say, can make some people break out, or, you know, it's just your skin's too sensitive to it. Mm-hmm. Some sunscreen is just like gross and greasy and leaves a white cast all over your face. Some sunscreen is questionable, like, you know, whatever ingredients are in it. So yeah. I have gathered a lot of information, and I am going to first of all say those sun guys, those bro influencers who are telling you to not wear sunscreen, they are wrong.
I just have to stop watching all those bros because I was in...
They were influencing you.
They were. My inner bro was like, oh, I gotta go like outside and naked and get in the sun.
Okay, so if they're not telling you to get out there naked and, you know, show your nether regions to the sun, they're telling you to not trust the chemical sunscreens, and those are terrible, and they're telling you to make your own homemade sunscreen, and like, these things are stupid. Don't do that. If you want to protect your skin, because while some of these benefits of the sun just are like common sense, or maybe there's some correlated information that indicates that this is true, mm-hmm. There is concrete, scientific, loads and loads and loads and loads of evidence that says sun exposure causes skin cancer and premature aging. So, like, you really want to protect yourself against what we really know for sure. And that's why we should all wear sunscreen.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we didn't quite know that yet, and people would just slather themselves in mineral oil in the summer and go to the pool or go to those sun tanning booths and look really tan for in the middle of winter. Weird stuff like that.
Yeah, these people who have like leathery brown skin, and they were just sun worshippers with like the metal things around their faces to bounce it back at them.
Yeah, those were different times, but apparently the bros have revived it for themselves.
I mean, like, yeah, the thing is, okay, so what the Australian like dermatologists consortium, I don't know what the group is called, but these are basically like the medical anti-cancer pro-doctor kind of group of Australian doctors where the sun is extra strong. They advise that if the UV index is 3 or above, you should wear sunscreen if you're going to be out exposed at all for longer than a couple of minutes. And so, okay, you, for example, who have like really sensitive skin, what are you going to try to do? There's mineral sunscreen and there's chemical sunscreen. And those bros and common sense might give chemical sunscreen a bad name, but in fact, I don't think it's well deserved. I think the mineral sunscreen has its pros and cons, and the chemical sunscreen does too. So you might be allergic to something in one of the chemical sunscreens, in which case, for you, a mineral sunscreen might be better, and that's like zinc or titanium, usually made out of. Mm-hmm. The thing is, then these bros are going to tell you, oh, well, just do a DIY, make it yourself sunscreen, which is ridiculous. The same ingredients.
Well, it sounds kind of fun, actually, but
it won't work because the ingredients that you're able to get are like not the same quality, like small size of the molecules that you're trying to mix up, and you don't have the industrial mixers to ensure that it's all evenly distributed. Because the way sunscreen works, whether it's a chemical or a mineral sunscreen, is it mostly absorbs the UV rays, and then with the rest of it, it scatters them or reflects them. But both of them work the same way in absorbing it and causing a teensy bit of heat, but not enough to really notice. And so you have to basically find a sunscreen that is going to work for you, that's going to feel okay on your skin, that's going to look the way you like it, that costs an amount that you can afford, that you're willing to put enough of on your skin every day. And so for me, that is it's a sunscreen, I think, by Neutrogena, that's supposed to be, it's called Dry Touch. It's a chemical sunscreen, which for most people you want to wear an SPF 30 or above. So for me, I got a 50. And it's pretty cheap because it's meant for your body, but you can use that on your face too. So for me, during those 6 months of the year when I have to wear sunscreen every day, I put on that particular sunscreen. It's the one that I've found that isn't greasy and gross on my skin. And you want to put it on so that you have like a nice smooth layer and let it dry. And then maybe you want to put on makeup on top perhaps, or whatever you want to do. But just getting that smooth layer of sunscreen and enough of it. So like your face, you need a quarter of a teaspoon, which for most people is like 2 thick stripes along 2 fingers, you know, it's like each finger, maybe 3, depending on, you can measure it in a quarter teaspoon. You need to use that much on your face, which is kind of a lot. And so that's why you want to use a sunscreen and not, like, for example, a foundation with sunscreen, because if you used enough of that, it would be like really thick, gross makeup.
That makes sense.
So the main chemical that is often used in these sunscreens is the one that these bros have objected to. So who I got most of my information from is Lab Muffin. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Lab Muffin. So Lab Muffin, I think her name is Michelle something, but she has this YouTube channel called Lab Muffin where she's a chemist, and she goes and debunks lots of these bro type of influencers who are saying silly things that are not scientifically based, and she'll explain the science behind it. So I learned a lot about sunscreen and which part of the sun spectrum is the part that's responsible for aging us and for giving us sunburns and things, and what we're trying to actually do.
Okay.
And so what she explained is that a lot of people who are anti-chemical sunscreen read this one particular study, which they took the findings out of context. What they found in this study was that a certain amount of this chemical causes reproductive problems in the mice that it was tested on. But the point of the study was to find out what is the safe limit. So of course they were testing like huge amounts because they wanted to find out how high they can go before it gets unsafe. So it's not at all surprising that a certain amount caused these problems. And then what they do is they back up and they're like, okay, so where's the safe amount? Okay, and then what they do is they say 100 times less that is the threshold that companies are allowed to use. So,
okay.
In fact, the chemical that all of these tech bros are screaming about and saying is unsafe for you is totally safe in the amount that it is used in sunscreen. You should not be worried about it. Anything in large enough amounts is going to become toxic, right? So you're not using it in
I guess
amounts.
even vitamins in large enough amounts can be toxic, or
Exactly.
they're good for you, but too much. Yeah.
Exactly. So the chemicals that are used in chemical sunscreen are fine as far as your body goes. In fact, like the mineral sunscreens maybe are even worse for like the environment, for like the coral reefs in some ways. And if you do it yourself, which some people think is a better idea, like I said, you're not going to achieve the same protection because it won't be the right ingredients or methods of putting it together. Also, with the chemical sunscreens, you're able to get a higher protection. So the mineral sunscreens can only protect so much, but the chemical sunscreens are able to get a little bit more than that. So what you're protecting against are the UV rays from sunlight. So of the visible radiation, it's all radiation coming down from the sun, and then there's the visible spectrum, and then the slower, longer waves are infrared, and the shorter, faster waves are UV, ultraviolet. And so mostly when we talk about like sun damage, we're talking about ultraviolet UV sun damage. There's stuff that goes on in the visible and the IR as well, but I'm not talking about that. So ultraviolet it's then UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVC doesn't really reach the earth, so don't worry about it. UVB is mostly what causes sunburns and sun damage, and that's mostly what sunscreen covers. UVA also can cause sun damage, like age-related sun damage, but this is funky because in America you have SPF, and SPF covers a little bit of UVA but not all of it, and the rest of it is a black box. You have no idea if you're getting sun protection or not for UVA. Look for when it says broad spectrum. That indicates that some UVA is covered, but otherwise you don't know. Whereas other countries have different ways of measuring sunscreen. So they have things like PPD and PA and boots, and depending on what country you're in, there's different measures after the SPF number.
Interesting.
So you might have these little pluses and things like that, and stars, and these indicate more UVA coverage, but in America you don't get to see that.
I've seen broad spectrum, and I wasn't quite sure what that referred to, but it sounded good. Now I know.
It covers more of UVA as well, so it is good. You should try to go for that. So that was kind of what I learned. I learned also about like reapplication of sunscreen. So for somebody like you living in California where you really need to wear sunscreen every day, I could imagine you put on the sunscreen in the morning, you wait like 5-10 minutes for it to dry, then you put on your makeup, and then you go out of the house and you're protected. But as you move and as you sweat and as life happens, the sunscreen on a microscopic level starts like blotching up and starts like caking up, forming like these little islands of sunscreen separated by these rivers of no sunscreen. So you're getting less coverage as you move throughout the day. And so if you're going out in the sun again, you need to reapply, which is annoying because if you have like makeup on or something, then reapplying, I mean, in an ideal world, you'd wash it all off and start all over, but nobody's going to do that, right? So a lot of people get like a spray that you can just put on top, and, maybe that's enough depending on what you're going to be doing. Some people get a stick. I've been told that sticks and sprays both don't work as well as like lotion, I think because the coverage is spotty. So,
I tend to just have a hat glued to my head in the summertime. Even like when I'm out on my bike, I just like put it under the helmet.
I mean, that's huge, but it's not going to cover like from the lips down.
True. Yeah. I should probably be more careful about sunscreen.
And then you're also going to almost every day want to get the backs of your hands. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing age in the backs of my hands that I never planned on. Like, I kind of knew in my 20s and 30s, like, I should put something on my face. I sort of knew, but I had no idea about the backs of my hands.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much every day you want to cover your face and hands. And then if you're, like, out on the beach or something, you want to cover whatever skin is exposed.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know, like, I mean, this is all of our 10 listeners that we have. I don't know who they are exactly, but if we, other folks were to listen to our podcast, do people with brown skin or black skin, do they need to wear sunscreen as well, or as much, or do you know about that?
A little bit, yeah. They, I know a little bit, and yes, they should. So they are not as sensitive to sun damage as like my pale skin would be. They're not as prone to getting a sunburn, but they are definitely prone to all the UV sun damage that is possible. So I don't know if they, whereas I would look at the UV index and say, oh, it's 3, I got to put on sunscreen. Maybe they would say it's 4 or 5, I got to put on sunscreen. I'm not sure, because I didn't look into it that deeply, but definitely everyone, all of us, we all need to protect ourselves against sun damage. And that's because, at my age, it's mostly because I'm vain and I don't want to have wrinkles and spots and, hyperpigmentation and things like that. But my father has had to have like loads and loads of little sun cancers, skin cancers lopped off of his face and his head and things. So I know that's in my future. The less I take care of myself, the more these things are going to keep happening.
Yes, that's true. It's not, on the one hand, it's how you look, but it can be much more serious than that. So,
and so I keep trying to instill in Godzilla, who doesn't care at all about any of this stuff yet. She's young and perfect, and but I keep trying to explain to her, like, you got to put on sunscreen every day in your face and hands during the warm months, not during the cold months. And even that message is confusing. But the more care you take in your younger years, the better you'll look in your older years. I don't know. When I was young, I grew up in like a beach town, and everybody was a sun worshiper and went to the beach all the time. And I was like a nerdy book reader, and so I didn't make it to the beach as often. And but then I would try to go, and I would like try to get a suntan, and I would always fail. I could never get a suntan. And looking back, I realized that I was maybe lucky because I avoided a lot of sun damage. But then I also think of how like every summer, once a year, I would probably get a sunburn that would like peel. And
me too. Yeah, at least once a year.
Exactly. And like that, those were like glitching, your skin. And now as you age, you get more and more glitches for more and more reasons. And so all those glitches that you built up from being young are liable to become ugly or cancerous when you're older.
I was just remembering when I lived in Singapore, lived there for almost a decade, and people use umbrellas to protect themselves from the sun, which I thought was weird at first, but it actually makes sense to, you don't have to lather up with all this cream because you just walk around with your umbrella when you're outside. And also I saw pictures of people in Japan wearing like these really long bathing suits at the beach. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have a long sleeve bathing suit because I don't want to wear sunscreen. It's gross. But you still have to,
Well, yeah.
Like on your hands, on your legs.
On your hands, your face, your neck. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a long sleeve swimsuit for just that reason. But I get it though. Most people love the sun. And so my serious advice is to find a sunscreen that you can tolerate, because I find sunscreen to be really gross and goopy and yucky, and I don't want to put it on. But when I finally found one that I thought was okay, it became better, and I'm now willing to use it all the time, which before was an ordeal, and now it's just like, okay, it's just a step.
Okay. Yeah. I did some research, and there was one that everyone really liked at Trader Joe's, but then I'm not sure I bought the right one. I wasn't so excited about it. But
I did hear there was a really good Trader Joe's one. We don't get Trader Joe's here in the UK, so I didn't bother like paying close attention. But yeah, apparently you can get really good deals that are like the exact same product as something way more expensive and fancy, but with a different label on it, cheaper.
Yeah, I'm not sure what makes it fancy, but yeah.
I don't know. For you, like you said, you're really sensitive to different things. You should probably do a little experimentation and figure out if it's just like a brand or if it's a particular ingredient.
Actually, I'm also like, if sometimes I break out just from the sun, sometimes I think I'm a vampire or something like that. Just getting too much sun makes me break out. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's partly why I wear hats all the time. And yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of like sun rashes.
Yeah. Yes, I am part vampire.
Well, I always had a suspicion about you. This all started because I heard that comment, about the UV index and that if it's under 3, you don't have to put on sunscreen. And ever since then, I've started looking at my UV index in my weather app, and that was the point at which I realized that Britain is really without sun for half the year. and then yeah, and so then I was thinking about, well, what, how do I
Is that
go
the sun
vitamin D?
shining on your face right now? Or
Yeah, this is a window right next to me, and so there
you
is
got a
the
little
sun.
bit of that precious sun.
Barely, but it's seriously gray out. There is not a bit of blue out there whatsoever. It is
Oh, okay.
gray and dreary. And so then I did a little more reading and found out how we're really severely vitamin D deficient in Britain. It's very common, and they advise everyone to take vitamin D supplements during the winter months here. And so then I was thinking, well, is it the vitamin D or what? And it's really hard to separate the benefits of the sun. So like, yeah, so all these bros who are advising the reason why, it's so hard to trust them, because it's impossible to tease apart like the vitamin D from the sun exposure, from just being outdoors, touching grass, to getting some exercise. Like, all these things kind of tend to go together, and they're all good for you, I suppose. But pinpointing and saying it's due to this one thing is I don't know, hard to prove.
Maybe it's a matter of, how much. Like, maybe it's good to get like 10 minutes of sun and activate your vitamin D in your body, but then more than that, even with cream, maybe it's not so good to be in the direct sunlight. So it's finding that sweet spot.
Yes.
Where a little bit of sun is good for you, but too much sun is not. And
Yeah, I think one of my big takeaways is that there's really no need to tan your testicles.
Okay, well, I'll just stop doing that then. I was listening to those bros and I thought I had to do what they said, so.
So glad I disabused you of that. Do you remember in a previous episode where we were talking about mushrooms, and I found out that mushrooms also get vitamin D the same way humans do on their skin, on their mushroom skin.
They get the
exposure.
suntan.
Yeah, exactly. And so eating mushrooms is a source of vitamin D. But yeah, also just take your vitamin D supplements if you live in a place similar to England where you don't get enough sunlight.
Huh. Yeah, good to know. All right. Well, I feel like I learned so much today.
I'm sorry, I kind of crammed it all in this really crammy way. It's so crammy. Yeah, so I hope I answered whatever questions you might have.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be more diligent about my screen and just try and find that sweet spot of enough sun but not too much sun. And those are and then also looking at the weather app. I do look at the weather app quite often, so I'll just pay more attention to that metric for how much sun is out there. So yeah.
The Australian guidelines say if you're going to be out for more than a few minutes, that's when like the sunscreen becomes important or not. So think about how, are you going for one of your bike rides? In that case, definitely you want to cover up. But are you just going to gather the mail? Okay, you probably don't need to worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
And also, are you going out before 9 a.m. or after 4 p.m.? Maybe you don't need it anymore,
Oh, good point. Yeah, if I'm going on a morning walk, it might not be sunny enough yet. So,
But if you're going midday where the sun is really beating down on you,
and I'm not in the shade, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they have a saying in Australia. It's like slip, slap, slop, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm not Australian, but it's like, slip on the clothing, slop on the sunscreen, slap on a hat. I don't know. It's the idea of layering and using all of these different strategies together to protect yourself from the sun, because you probably can't rely on any one of them alone to do the whole job.
Well, that's good that we got all this information out of Australia. Thank you, Australia, for. I also, when I was, we were doing our blood sugar episode, I was looking at a lot of data coming out about from scientists in Australia. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think because the sun is extra bitey there. Like I heard that the hole in the ozone layer, which was like all in the news, like in the 80s and 90s, has mostly been corrected and it's okay. But I heard that it still exists over Australia, so
Oh,
that's
weird.
why they have a bit more of a sun problem that they need to be more aware of. So they recommend, yeah, the slip slap stop thing, and the under 3 UV index thing is another one. And then another thing that they have is like a graphic that shows how much sunscreen you should use. So as I mentioned, a quarter of a teaspoon for your face, but they would say 1 teaspoon for your face and neck and ears and shoulder, like, from like neck up, and then 1 for your arms, or 1 for each arm, 1 for your each leg, and like 2 for your torso. So it's kind of an easier way to remember how much you need. I think that's another problem people often do with sunscreen, is they don't use enough. So that's why it is important. Like I say, the 2 fingerfuls is a good guideline for most people, but scrape it off and measure it into a quarter teaspoon and see if you're accurate or not, because it counts.
A quarter teaspoon doesn't seem like that much.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, you should just do a little experiment once and see how much it actually is, so you can estimate it and feel covered. And then when we're talking about like sun damage, wrinkles and hyperpigmentation and blah blah blah, a lot of people go straight to these beauty products like retinoids and alpha hydroxy acids and whatever, blah blah blah. But before you do any of that, the sun protection, the sunscreen, is the most essential foundation of it. So that alone, without doing any of the extra cosmetic kind of treatments, just the wearing sunscreen on a daily basis will improve your complexion, especially if you're worried about like aging kind of concerns.
So sunscreen can actually reverse aging, or
Yeah, because it stops the continued damage that you're doing.
okay.
And
Okay.
so you give your skin a chance to heal itself, essentially.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. So that's my sun exposure risks and benefits information.
Nice. Well, I'll be a lizard in the sun, but a very careful one.
Good. Careful lizard. That's what I want from you. All right, so I guess that's about it. Should we talk about our intentions for the week?
Sure.
I have a tough week coming up because, well, it's all leading to good things, but we're having our kitchen renovation started. So like they just turned off the gas. We have no oven or stove anymore. And we're about to have our entire house full of like boxes of things. And it's just going to be a madhouse for like the next few weeks. And I'm starting my job again, my day job, because I can't only be a podcaster. So I have a tough week ahead of me with a lot of things kind of cramping my style. And so my intention for the week is to try to take a moment out for myself every day and, I don't know, meditate, breathe, just kind of just daydream. That's my intention for the week.
Okay. Yeah, in the midst of all that kind of craziness, you need to, find those little moments with yourself where things feel good.
That's what I'm going to try to do. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah.
What's your intention?
My intention is more like a figure something out intention, because my therapist this week asked me if I still want to keep going to therapy because I seem so happy every time I come.
Oh, that's a nice thing to hear.
Yeah, but I feel like it's still useful, but I need to figure out why and make a convincing argument for that. maybe not quite as often, but so that's I have to figure that out by Tuesday. So that's my intention.
So are you gonna like kind of spend some time just thinking to yourself?
Yeah, reflecting on, all the different things I've been techniques and approaches I've been learning in therapy, and where I still want to work on things and where it could still be useful for me. So yeah, that's what I have to figure out. My intention is to figure out, for my side of things, where I want to go forward with that.
Awesome. Well, good luck in sorting through all that and coming to a good decision.
Thank you. So.
Alrighty, that's it for Hot Mama's Cool Planet.
Yeah. Sun and fun in the sun.
Fun in the sun. Sizzle, sizzle.
Okay, bye.
Bye.